I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if we could we're all standing and bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we are mindful this week of those things for which we're most thankful. We want to thank you for all of the citizens of Kenner, all of our family, and in particular, all of those people who serve our city, our first responders, our policemen, and our firemen who put their lives on the line for us every day. We also want to thank you for the blessings that you bestowed on our city this past year, but we want to, in a mindful way, remember those who have passed, anyone who's lost a family member, that you be with their families, because the holidays are the hardest times that they grieve their loss. And in a special way, we want to pray for a friend of our city, Mr. Billy Dunmoy, the father of Donna Hahn, one of our assistants in the mayor's office, who passed, and who's worked tirelessly at the playgrounds along the sides of many of us up here. We have other special intentions. Councilmember Carroll.
I would like to also ask everyone for their prayers for Mr. Helen and Roy Oliver from the Lincoln Manor subdivision, lifelong residents, who has gone to glory to God within a week of each other passing. So we all understand the death of one parent, but to have two parents within a week apart is something that we all need to pray for and ask God for forgiveness and to look after this family. Thank you.
For all of these intentions, in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mayor, why don't you lead us in the pledge this evening?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I forgot to mention that. You might want to talk more.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Madam Chairman, this evening we've received a request to amend the agenda to include item 18B at the request of Councilmember Stagney, a discussion regarding home service/home serve.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to suspend the council rules. All members, please vote. One more vote, please. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to suspend your rules.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to amend the agenda to include item 18B. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward. Hearing none, all council members, please vote. Two more votes, please.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of November 7, 2013. Item 2, we have no items. Item 3, there's none. 4, none. 5 is acceptance of rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the responsive bids received from Category 5 Fence Company in the amount of $2,698 to furnish and install 100 feet of ornamental iron fencing around a military vehicle located in Veterans Park in accordance with telephone bid number T13-2108 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. There's no items under 6, no items under 7. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. Item 8A is summary ordinance number 11,633. An ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots M and L, Plot 4, Oakland Plantation Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, into Lot M1, Plot 4, Oakland Plantation Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan on consent. Council members, please vote. One more vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16402, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2309 Kenner Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished. Madam Chairman, we've received a request for a two-meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black on a two-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for two-meeting deferral. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B 16406, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2724/26 Richland Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B 16406. Is there anyone from the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter? Hearing none, motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to close the public hearing. Councilmember,
Madam Chairman, I believe they have a presentation.
Yeah, we have a presentation.
oh, pardon me.
It's okay.
I didn't see anybody. Okay, who, you?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Conley, you didn't put your light on.
Oh, I'm sorry. The structure in question is a double apartment constructed on a slab foundation bearing the municipal address of 2724/26 Richland Street. The property is owned by Richard Cambry and Associates, Inc. On June 25th, 2012, it was determined that this property was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 and all of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On August 10th, 2012, a notice was sent certified mail to the property owners advising them the property and the building violations. The address was found by way of search engine, and the certified mail was returned unclaimed, and being unable to locate the property owners, a curator was appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply. The city has been maintaining the property for several years, and there is currently an amount owed of $12,978 to the City of Kenner. The City of Kenner also contacted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner that provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. All utilities have been disconnected, and there's a storage room at the rear of the building that has a copious amounts of trash and debris. Numerous framing members have signs of rot as well. The exterior siding has fallen off the east side of the structure, thus exposing the interior to the elements and compromising the lateral stability of the south wall. Based on a report of the engineer, the building poses a safety hazard due to the current condition of the structure and the surrounding conditions, and recommend the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition or brought up to city codes and ordinances. We also have the curator here tonight.
Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Sophie Rosado from the Rosado.
Pardon me, I'm sorry, Ms. Rosado. There you go.
Sophie Rosado from the Rosado Law Firm, Your Honor. Sorry.
Okay, if you say.
I'm so used to saying that, I apologize. My address is 3005 Harvard Avenue, Suite 102, Metairie, Louisiana, 70006. I was appointed as the curator to locate Mr. Richard Cambry of Richard Cambry and Associates, Inc. I ran an internet background search on Intellius. I was unable to make contact with Mr. Richard Cambry on any of the phone numbers provided by that search. I then mailed letters to all 6 addresses provided by the Intellius search, plus one more address to the registered agent for his business that I got off of the Louisiana Secretary of State's website. Of the 7 certified letters mailed, 4 were returned unclaimed, 2 were returned claimed, signed by Richard M. Cambry, and 1 printout from the United States Post Office where notice was left, but the letter has not been claimed. I received 1 voicemail message from Mark Cambry, who claimed to be the son of Richard Z. Cambry, stating that he is the executor of his mother's estate, that Richard Cambry no longer owned the property as he did an active donation approximately 3 years ago. He stated his attorney's name is Don Gardner, provided me with that contact information. I called Mr. Cambry back to get the active donation since I looked on JeffNet and it was not recorded. However, I was never able to reach him. Last I checked on JeffNet today, there is no active donation for this property that was recorded, and we don't even know if one exists. I called Mr. Don Gardner, his attorney, to verify that no act of donation was recorded. However, I was never able to reach him. I sent Mr. Gardner a certified letter informing him of today's council meeting. Mr. Conley informed me that Mr. Gardner and he spoke, and Mr. Mark Cambry would not be contesting the demolition of the property today. Not convinced that the named defendant had been found, I ran the ad in the Times-Picayune, and to date, I have not received any phone calls regarding this property.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Carroll, did you wish to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'd like to first, thank the attorney for her hard work with this, and also thank the Code Department for the aggressive work that they've been doing over the last couple of months. It's beginning to show. And it's unfortunate that when we have property owners for this, like this address, that it sets a bad example for the good property owners in the city of Kenner, even for the ones who have legitimate concerns and challenges from financial standpoint, that it sheds a bad light on the sincere property owner, because here's a situation where a number of things have been said or quoted, and as the attorney said, we can't seem to validate it. In any case, it's our responsibility to ensure that the safety of the neighborhood. And it's also said that a lot of the people who own these properties no longer live in the city of Kenner, and their sense of ensuring that they do their duty as a property owner sometimes goes away, and the people who live here have to put up with it. So in this particular case, the proper procedures have been put into place. We gave them an opportunity, but there was no response. And I think it's our responsibility to ensure that the neighborhood is safe and sound, and I ask for your support on going forward with this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Mr. Conley, I just have a question for you about notices, and I don't know if we talked about this earlier, but Ms. Rosado, when she said that she put an ad in the Times-Picayune, is there a particular provider like the Times-Picayune or the Advocate or city business that is more acceptable because of the changes in the circulation? Or is there some law that dictates how often the circulation would have to come up for it to be an appropriate?
No, there's no real requirement other than that, and there's really no requirement that you publish it in a local paper other than we do it. And it's been habit, and that's how we advertise everything in the city of Kenner. So we maintain our relationship with the Times-Picayune for that. But she can explore, any curator can explore other options, but we'd still require them to run it in the Times-Picayune.
Okay, so it wasn't required, and there's no law that dictates as to how much of a circulation would be an acceptable venue for us to
No,
advertise.
because the Times-Picayune already meets any requirements because it is our official journal.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Ms. Carroll, are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16407, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 1525 31st Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished. Madam Chairman, we've also received a two-meeting deferral request on this item.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second, is that you, Mr. Carroll? Second by Councilmember Black for a two-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16417, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 3310 Colorado Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing, and we have a presentation by Mr. Conley.
The structure in question is a pile-supported slab structure bearing the municipal address of 3310 Colorado Avenue. The property is owned by Martha Bronner. It was determined that this property was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the city of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 and all of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Kenner. Notice was sent, certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and the building violations. After no response from the property owners, a curator was appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply. The city has been maintaining the property for several years, and there is currently an amount owed of $1,687.20 to the city of Kenner. The city of Kenner also contracted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the city of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Electric and gas utilities have been disconnected. The southern wooden gate leading to the rear of the property has collapsed. The structure has very serious foundation problems. The rear or eastern section of the structure has dramatically subsided when compared to the front section. From a visual inspection, there seemed to be approximately 1.5 to 2 feet of elevation difference between the front and rear section. Ground subsidence has caused the western side of the slab to become elevated 6 to 8 inches off the ground surface, thus creating a dangerous void under the slab. Based on the report of the engineer, the slab poses a safety hazard due to the open void under such slab. Based on the visual observations, the structure is a serious public hazard, and recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition or brought up to current codes and ordinances. And we do have a curator on this one.
For the record, approaching is Ms. Sophie Rosado, who went on record earlier with her address, so go ahead.
Good evening, council members again. I was appointed as a curator to locate Ms. Martha Bronner. I ran an internet search on Intellius, was unable to make contact with Ms. Bronner on any of the phone numbers provided by that search. I then mailed the letters certified to all 3 addresses provided by the Intellius search. Of the 3 certified letters mailed, 1 was returned unclaimed, 2 were returned claimed, signed by Sandy Hebert. I received several phone calls from a Martha Bronner. However, she is not the Martha Bronner that owns this particular property, and she's never owned property in Kenner. Not convinced the named defendant had been found, I ran an ad in the Times-Picayune. To date, I have not received any other phone calls regarding that property from that ad. I met with Mr. Conley on November 5th, 2013, and was provided a phone number for a Nathaniel Phillips with regard to him purchasing a tax interest in the property at the tax sale. I called Mr. Phillips, and he wanted to know if I could send him the code violations for the property so that he could put the property in compliance. I stated that since he was not the recorded owner of the property, I would have to check with Mr. Connolly to see if that was okay. Mr. Connolly told me he would speak with Mr. Phillips, and on November 18th, 2013, I was informed by Mr. Connolly that Mr. Phillips moved for a writ of possession to be recognized as having interest in the tax sale. On November 19th, 2013, I contacted and met with Ms. Dana Fink of the City of Kenner and received an email from Mr. Phillips dated November 13th, 2013, to Mr. Connolly noting that he obtained a writ of possession from the 24th Judicial District Court. His attachments to the email included the order of seizure and possession and an estimate from the Demo Diva demolition. I was told that Mr. Phillips would be here tonight to discuss his concerns with you all. And besides Mr. Phillips and the incorrect Martha Bronner that contacted me, I have not yet received any other phone calls regarding this property.
Thank you, Ms. Rosado.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Phillips here? State your name and address for the record, please.
Nathaniel Phillips, 427 33rd Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I purchased a tax lien on 3310 Colorado at the September Kenner tax sale for unpaid ad valorem taxes. I purchased that tax lien sight unseen, and I was notified at the very beginning of November of the dilapidated condition of the property by Mr. Conley's office. I immediately moved for a writ of possession from the 24th Judicial District Court, as Ms. Rosado stated, and I have taken actual possession of the property. Ms. Rosado is incorrect. It is not an estimate from the Demo Diva. It is an actual signed contract, and it is my understanding that they will demolish the property within 3 days of the issuance of a demolition permit by Mr. Conley's office. I'm not sure if that permit has been issued yet. Mr. Conley stated that it may have been. But the property will be demolished within, if I had to guess, a week. I would ask this council to stay any and all proceedings to issue an abatement order or some such on the property. because I think that within a week, the proceedings will be moot.
Okay. When we close public hearing, I know the council members are going to have some questions, so if we need to call you back up, we'll do so then.
Thank you.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by is there anyone else wishing to address the council? Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. This property at 3310 Colorado has been in this condition since I was elected in 2006. An elderly lady owned it, and I believe that's Ms. Brunner. She passed away. Her grandson was in there. He did nothing to the property. At one time, they had 7 vehicles in the back and a boat, 6 in a boat. Code went out, forced them to clean that up, and my office has continued to push since 2007 to have this property demolished. The sidewalks are impassable to pedestrian traffic. It is highly unsafe. There's as much as 2 or 3 feet drop in the level of the ground where there's a sewage manhole cover. I only wish Mr. Phillips could have gotten that property sooner. He's acted very quickly. He's worked with Mr. Conley. I'm going to move forward on this because I just want to have the order in place. I know that property is going to be knocked down. The house is going to go down. You saw the pictures, terrible, terrible shape. But it's important for us to move forward so that we have that. It will take 47 days for all legislation to go into effect anyway. And I've talked to Mr. Phillips just before the council meeting, and I let him know that we were going to move forward on this and that we highly appreciate his efforts and Ms. Rosado, your efforts for trying to locate the property owner. But the surrounding neighbors in that neighborhood are highly upset that it has taken as long as it has. They want to know that we acted. Code has been pushing and pushing through numerous violations over there, and I think it's incumbent upon us to show that we're taking some action. And while it may not go into effect and your action would precede ours, it would render it moot. We appreciate it, but I think we need to be on record saying we're going to move forward on it. So I'd ask my colleagues for support.
Okay, Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, I will go along with the wishes of the district councilman, and I can understand your rationale on that. You do understand that if it's not done within a certain time, we're working on this so that we make sure that everything is in place, but you said you are going to be having it done within the next 5 or 6 days. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Have you already hired someone to demolish it? You have a contract with him? Is all of that in place?
Yes, and I brought a proof of that if you wish to see it. I've already paid the deposit to the contractor to have it torn down.
I'm sure Mr. Stagney has made sure you have all the proper documentation on that. But I'd like to also ask the city Public Works if the sidewalk and everything is in such a deplorable state and that the city is liable for that, perhaps that we should go out and put something, some of the orange ties around it, or just to alert, just to make sure that the city is not in any jeopardy of a lawsuit or anything because of the condition of that sidewalk, because it's not the property owner's responsibility, or it is the property owner's responsibility, but the city is the one that has the most to lose on that. So I'd like to ask that, please. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And just for a point of clarification, Mr. Phillips did state that in order for him to proceed with tearing the building down, that his permit to do this he has to have that. So I know code has a lot of stuff going on, but we want to make sure that he's given the proper documentation to proceed with the demolition for his property. He's waiting for his permit. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to work with Mr. Phillips and make sure that, I mean, this is, like you said, this is a favor to us more or less, so I'm going to work with Mr. Phillips very closely to
Yes.
work on getting this demolished.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Stagney to close.
Thank you, Madam President. I was just going to say the same thing. Mr. Conley has been working with Mr. Phillips. He understands that as soon as the city can issue that permit, we're going to issue it. And even if we, for some reason, come up to that deadline date where our legislation kind of goes into effect, he'll have every opportunity still to knock it down. But I'm quite certain that he has everything in order to do that well before we actually get this legislation advertised, probably in the next 10 days. So thank you for all your help on that, Mr. Phillips and Mr. Conley. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9E is the public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,623. An ordinance approving the sale of Blair Street between 3rd Street and Geneva Street between Blair Street and Minden Street, Hanson Place Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to open a public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,623. I believe we have a presentation from Mr. Hebert.
The property is bounded by the LNA Railroad to the north, 3rd Street to the south, Butler Canal to the east, and Minden Street to the west. It's located in Council District 1.
Excuse me one second. Do we have a, pardon me, Mr. Hebert, do we have a video or a presentation on screen?
Is your video?
We do, but
Is your video plugged in now? Did it come unplugged? Okay, it's up now. We got it.
Okay, there you go. Proceed.
the two rights-of-way include an unimproved portion of Blair Street consisting of 31,245 square feet and measuring approximately 50 feet in width by 718 feet in length, and an unimproved portion of Geneva Street consisting of 13,374 square feet and measuring approximately 243 feet in length by 56 feet in width. The portion of the Blair Street right-of-way is located adjacent between the Butler Canal and Lot 1A, which contains cycle construction. The right-of-way is currently being used as a vehicular entrance to the cycle construction's outdoor storage yard area via 3rd Street. A portion of the right-of-way is encumbered by a 25-foot wide drainage servitude. The portion of the Geneva Street right-of-way lies adjacent north of the cycle construction facility, parallel to the LNA Railroad and an existing drainage ditch. The right-of-way contains a grass area with overgrown foliage. The Geneva Street right-of-way is also encumbered by a 25-foot wide drainage servitude. The rights-of-way are located in an area zoned special industrial and contains a variety of industrial uses. Now, the purpose of the alienation is to incorporate the adjacent undeveloped rights-of-way into the development site of cycle construction. Correspondence has been received by all utility companies, including the Jefferson Parish Engineering Department and Veolia Water, indicating that there are no operational utilities located within the subject area. The City of Kenner's Department of Public Works has requested that the 25-foot wide maintenance drainage servitude be retained along the Butler Canal's eastern bank and along the drainage ditch located adjacent to the Geneva Street right-of-way. The request is referenced in Section 2 of the proposed ordinance. An appraisal of the public rights-of-way dated February 25th, 2013 was performed by Michael Truax LLC on behalf of the applicant, estimating the fair market value of the property at $91,100. The City of Kenner subsequently obtained the services of Derby's and Associates to conduct a review of the appraisal. The review concluded that the appraisal appears well-supported and acceptable. The applicant has offered to purchase the property at 100% of the estimated fair market value. Therefore, based on review of the application, the Planning Commission and the Planning Department both recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anyone else from the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter? Mr. Heigl? Welcome. State your name and address for the record.
Kevin Heigl, 131 Airline Drive, Suite 201 in Metairie, Louisiana. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kevin Heigl, and I'm here representing the owner of the property, Cycle Construction. We have made application and have been working with the planning department and the city attorney's office for over a year on this matter, and we feel that we have reached a point now where everyone is happy with things, and we would like to proceed. I have with me Mr. Jonathan Kearney, the president of Cycle Construction, and we're both here to answer any questions you may have for us.
Okay, well, we'll close public hearing, and if there are questions, we'll call you back up. Is there anyone else from the audience? Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Carroll, did you wish to speak, or are we all good? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Heidel, thank you very much for the cooperation with this. Like you said, it's been going on for a year with planning and all. I think this is a win-win.
Mr. Carroll, I made a boo-boo. I apologize.
All right.
We closed public hearing,
Yes.
and so we need a motion and a second on the floor for approval. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Let the record reflect. I'm sorry, Mr. Carroll, proceed.
Thank you. Again, like I was saying, if you'd like to come up, Mr. Heidel, that'll be fantastic. I'd just like to say, thanks for the cooperation with yourself and the planning and public works. It's been a year, and this is a situation I think is a win-win for the city of Kenner, for Cycle Construction. It increases the property for that company to increase their productivity, and it also helps within the city of Kenner. Also, from public works standpoint, we worked out all of the arrangements to ensure that when we have to service the area, that there won't be any distractions or any type of legal in the way of that. And that's, sometimes it may seem like it's not, but it happens a lot. So I'm glad we worked through all that. Thanks again for all your hard work, and anytime there's any question, please feel free to give
Yes,
us a
sir.
call.
We thank you very much for your cooperation and everyone's cooperation. Cycle Construction's very proud to be a citizen of Kenner, and we plan to be a member for a long time. Thank you very much.
Just a moment.
Thank you.
We have several other people, and just for a point of clarity, Council Clerk, the amendment is coming from the Planning Department. Mr. Carroll, would you like to present the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a simple typographical thing that they wanted to correct within the ordinance. In the first whereas, immediately after the word value, insert of $91,100 as shown on the appraisal performed by Michael W. Troe, Sr. of Troe and Robles Appraisers, LLC, dated October 7, 2013. In Section 1, immediately following the word value in the fifth line, we will also insert the same verbiage.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black on the amendments as presented. Council members, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to clear the floor, but I will get you to put your lights back on in the order that you appear on the screen after we dispose of this amendment. So, Councilmember, let me clear the floor. Council members, please vote on the amendment. One more.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to amend.
Okay, so Councilmember DeFrancis, if you'll put your light on first, and then Councilmember DeNapolis. Okay, Councilmember Carroll, are you complete with your opening? Okay. Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. I just have a very quick question, which I basically asked Mr. Aber prior to the council meeting beginning, and I thought it was important to put it on the record. Mr. Aber, I asked you the following question. Is there anyone who has been opposed to our moving forward with this particular sale?
None to my knowledge.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that everyone in the neighborhood had no problem with it, that there was no one who actually anticipated that it may cause a problem for that neighborhood or had been against the idea. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I just want to assure the public that this is actually property that really has absolutely no value to the city of Kenner, and obviously it has value to Cycle Construction, and we want definitely like this to be a move for being friendly to businesses and we're glad to see that this piece of property will help, you know, your business and the expansion of your business and to keep you located here in Kenner. And we, you know, this is, you know, once again, it's $91,000 that comes back to Kenner. I didn't realize we had that much value here, but I guess we do. And we really appreciate you buying this piece of property off of our hands, and good luck and much success with your business. Thank you.
I may not have been paying attention. Did we mention where the money from the sale of this is going?
According to the ordinance, it's going to go where the ordinance says it should go, which is District 1.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Since you're
I wasn't
asking.
confused about that at all. I
Yes.
just. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,625, an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Article 2, Section 15-23 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances by the addition thereto and the establishment of do not enter signs, one-way signs, no right turn and no left turn signs on Main Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard at intersections with 25th and 26th Street during school hours for the Kenner Discovery Elementary School.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an ordinance that I deferred last week because I wanted to get out and talk to some of the neighbors. I have not been able to reach them all, but I'm going to let Ms. Newton, the Deputy CAO, talk about what she did, who she met with, and what they decided to do as far as the traffic flow. This is around the Kenner Discovery Health Sciences School, and to everyone that I've talked to so far, and while it hadn't been all the neighbors adjacent to the property, it has been a number of parents, some neighbors, and some parents that walk their kids to school. Everyone is much happier with the current traffic pattern that is going on, the flow compared to what it was before. Ms. Newton, can you tell us what you did?
Sure. Prior to the opening of school, we held a meeting, the administration, code, the Kenner Police Department, including the Traffic Division, Public Works, and myself, along with the teachers who would be handling the traffic controls for the school, all held a meeting and discussed traffic patterns for in and out of the school. The original traffic patterns that were established did allow for traffic to come in off of 26th Street from Roosevelt, but that proved to be a hazard that the police department reported to us, and we made revisions, sort of trying this out until we were ready to put legislation on the floor to make these permanent. The traffic controls work for the school. They ensure the safety of the children, and I'm confident with the advice we've received and the expertise we've received from the Kenner Police Department that this is what's in the best interest of the kids and the school.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. And Chief, we appreciate all that your traffic division did working with Ms. Newton, principal of the school, and those people on behalf of the school that worked together. In the past, the administration had required, when we put up some traffic signs, to have some type of supporting documentation from engineers or some engineer. Is there a way, Mr. Gonzalez, or would you think that that would be a good idea?
Being that we're dealing with the school and we're dealing with children, I think it would be a good idea to get a consulting engineer on board just to certify that traffic plan.
Can you, I want to pass this tonight, Ms. Newton and Traffic Division has been working on this a while. Is there a way that we can go ahead and supplement that report, attach it to this legislation for future use in case it's ever needed? Madam Clerk, can we attach that?
Yes,
the
sir,
report
we
that Mr. Gonzalez comes up with?
Just get it to me, and I'll attach it to the ordinance.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have something for the next council meeting.
Okay. When I was talking with the neighbors that were home, identified two areas that we really need to look at if possible, and I've mentioned to Ms. Newton. One, and I think to you, Mr. Gonzalez, one is, I think it's 8893 25th Street. It's the house next to St. Lawrence School. The traffic does back up, and some of the parents will exit their cars, go pick up the child, and they're blocking the driveway. She's had a problem getting home. I'd like to try to put a do not block driveway sign just for her. She's been the only one on that. The second thing is the walkway to school at Main and 25th, one of those corners does not have handicap, doesn't even have a corner. There's no sidewalks leading to it, and the corner is not handicapped at all. And I saw some people having problems trying to walk across that. So if we could look at that, District 2 would be willing to do whatever we needed to do to make that a safe walkway to school for the parents and the children. So if we could look at those two things, if it's possible. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 11,631, an ordinance declaring certain fire department equipment no longer needed for public purposes and authorizing the sale of said fire equipment in an as-it-is condition for the sum of $14,000 to the Hillsdale Fire Department.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution accepting and adopting the system survey and compliance questionnaire from the legislative auditor of the state of Louisiana.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution reappointing Mickey Jeruso to the City of Kenner Planning and Zoning Commission for a 4-year term.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate Mr. Hebert sent all of us when our appointees' time of service is up. His was up at the end of September. I appreciate the notification. I've spoken to Mr. Jeruso, who has served since he couldn't even remember it, sometime in the early 80s. And Mr. Hebert will tell you he's one of their most diligent members. His heart is in the community. He's seen it all, so he's a veteran. Asked him if he wanted to continue to serve. He said absolutely, so I'm going to reappoint him. I think everybody up here knows him, and he does a great job, so we appreciate the service, Mr. G. Thank you, Madam President.
Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is, items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,634, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of State of Louisiana contract number 408874 with Covington Sales and Service Incorporated to purchase one Lee Boy asphalt tack tank in the amount of $8,892 for the City of Kenner Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Stagney. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,635, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Han Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $16,334 to furnish and install tot lot equipment at Migos Park Playground in accordance with sealed bid number 13-6176 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. I'm simply going to say that for a long time, we've been working to try to upgrade Miguez Park. Those people have had an eyesore for a very long time. My District 4 paid to have cameras installed because there were problems at that park. We were able to get, again, some of the improvements done, but not enough. And now we're finally taking those steps in cooperation with our Recreation Department, a cooperative effort between Recreation and District 4 to make sure that that park becomes something that's going to be a plus for the neighborhood instead of a negative. So my thanks to Mr. Maricoli and the City of Kenner for working with my office to make that happen. Thank you.
Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,636, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Bliss Products and Services Incorporated in the amount of $10,505.28 to furnish and install new pour in-place safety surfacing at Migas Park Playground in accordance with seal bid number 13-6175 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote. One more, please.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is a resolution accepting as complete the contract with Sport Court of Arkansas to replace gymnasium flooring at Wentwood Gymnasium for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Once again, I want to thank Ken Maricoli for, staying steadfast and improving Wentwood Playground. This is just one of those multifaceted things that we've done over the last since Katrina in repairing out there at Wentwood Playground. Once again, it's got a beautiful service. This gym also is used in conjunction with Audubon School there, so this gym gets a lot of use. It gets all day and all night use, so this is a win situation not only for Audubon School, but also for the children that do play at Wentwood Playground. This has been needed for a long, long time, but I do want to remind District 5 that Wentwood Playground was the hardest hit playground after Katrina that we had in the city, and this is just one more step into making it back into the glory days that it was. This is a fantastic playground. I want to appreciate Mr. Ken Maricoli for all his efforts. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the lease of the existing building and improvements located on portions of original lots 7, 8, 9, and 10, square 40, Old Kenner Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, bearing the municipal address 405 Williams Boulevard as shown on the attached survey by BFM Corporation dated July 8, 1993, for the sum of $740 per month for a 12-month term. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Navigation Electronics Incorporated for the purchase of one Nikon Nevo 5.M reflectorless 5-inch total station crash investigation system in accordance with letter bid number 13-1506 in the amount of $8,906 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated in the amount of $31,218 to replace the air conditioning unit at Buddy Lawson Gymnasium in accordance with seal bid number 13-6180 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
I just have two things that I wanted to mention. First of all, Mr. Gonzalez, I wanted to ask you, I know that I've heard rumors that we are, or the project is pushing forward to try to get the work along West Esplanade finished as much as possible for the Thanksgiving rush we're hoping for at the Esplanade Mall. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. The project along West Esplanade is expected to be completed early next week. The same applies to the project along Loyola. Between the three Loyolas and West Esplanade is also expected to be completed by next week. Both of those projects are under the Path to Progress program.
Not a moment too soon. There is a lot of road rage out there as people are trying to navigate around. I have to say it's been organized in terms of what they can do to facilitate the flow and the policemen that they've had out there to help with that. But it has been an exercise in patience, and just wanted to let people know that just to hold on a little bit longer, and we'll have that to be thankful for next week. What projects will remain?
One that's under construction right now is 31st Street under the Path to Progress program, 31st Street between Loyola and the Duncan Canal. That's in a residential neighborhood, but nevertheless, it's a federal aid route. That project is a resurfacing job where we are installing a number of concrete bus pads. That project is expected to be completed by the second week of December. And believe it or not, we haven't received hardly any complaint from that neighborhood. Now, there's another project that's going on in District 2 right now, is Roosevelt. That's an amendment to some work that we had done on Roosevelt. We managed to get probably another $400,000 worth of work of panel replacements along Roosevelt. That work is ongoing, and I think that work is probably expected to be completed by December, probably mid-December.
Okay.
There's one more project that is going to create some inconveniences, but not as bad as the West Esplanade project between Williams and Old Miss Drive. That's another section of West Esplanade between Williams and Power. That particular project is the same thing, panel replacements and an overlay. We managed to, include that project under a change order, through the Federal Highway Administration.
On the north or the south side of West Esplanade?
Both sides.
On both sides?
Both sides are we're gonna get something similar to what's happening, and that's in District, 3. We're gonna get something similar to what's happening on West Esplanade between Williams and Ole Miss. And that project is expected to start early January, maybe the first week of January. And it's a 90-day project. The one that we're finishing on West Esplanade, it was about a 2.5 months project, and the contractor's been working out there pretty much 7 days a week.
They have. Now, there's one more project going on that's unrelated, I believe, to those road projects, and that's the drainage at the Corps of Engineer, I guess, is overseeing that project. Is that correct? At the end of West
Well, no, that
Esplanade?
project is not related to the Path to
Right.
Progress
That's what I'm
program.
saying.
That's strictly a core project that has created some amount of inconvenience for the people that travel West Esplanade. Right, correct. And the people that travel Vintage. And the main area of concern is, that Canal 17 to the levee.
Right.
That's the area that has been disturbed. That's Ball Brothers doing the work, but Ball Brothers' work not being the low bid for that drainage project, somebody else, Ball Brothers is a subcontractor to the prime contractor, but there's also work going on along the grassy levee, behind people's homes right now.
Right.
But all of that is part of one project, one Corps of Engineers project.
And what type of timetables on that? Because that's really impacted the playground over there, Wood Lake Playground, and those neighborhoods being able to ingress and egress out of those neighborhoods. What's the timetable on that? Are you aware? I know it's not the same program.
I don't remember what the time frame,
Okay.
but I can find that out for you. But, once they get out of West Esplanade and Vintage, and they should be, close to being out of West Esplanade and Vintage, then traffic will return to normal.
Yeah, and this was planned as the last phase of the west return wall improvements to add the drainage off. I mean, that water whisks off of that levee in a rain, so it'd be interesting to see the impact of that drainage project, because it has dramatically, I mean, it's amazing what engineers can foresee in terms of what an impact is going to have, the improvement, what the impact's going to be. So they were right that it was going to be a mess until they were able to put that drainage in, so. But I just wanted to give people hope that we were seeing a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the areas that have already been under construction.
Now, going back to the same area where you live, we also have a sewer project going on out there.
Really?
Yes.
Where, is it visible? I mean, is it something?
It's coming out of, Council District 5. Everybody's getting a share of the projects. Coming out of West Stanford and going, I think, is West Loyola, I believe. It's going to West Esplanade, and it's tying into the 4MGD, that big 4MGD lift station there. So what you see out there right now is probably two contractors working. One is a core contract or subcontractor doing the drainage improvements along West Esplanade, which are probably almost complete. And then the other one is a sewer project.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I also, well, and I guess that brings us to, please come shop in Kenner for the day after Thanksgiving. We'd love to have you shop right here in Kenner. I wanted to also thank publicly Mr. Chuck Whistler. He has been my appointee on the Code Board. Since I've been in office, Mr. Whistler has been one of those people that, his issue has always been code. He invests a lot of money in terms of properties that he buys in Kenner, and so, firsthand, he sees how it impacts his properties and what things he thinks could facilitate more smoother processes, so he was chomping at the bit to serve on the Code Committee. But like any service, it is a commitment, and so he has, decided that it goes way beyond the amount of time anymore that he can spend and give to it. So I want to thank him for his service already. And then the moment he backed out, there was a lady who had approached me about serving, so it seemed like one door was closed, another one was open. Miss Johanna Lay, she lives in Beachview Heights, and apparently code issues and blight in particular have been a pet peeve of hers, and so she's energetic and she is excited about serving, so she will be appointed to the board as my appointee. But I just, wanted to thank Chuck, who had served already, and thank Ms. Lay for stepping forward. And I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. And Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Council President. And just a couple quick points. Mr. Gonzalez, first of all, thank you for your working. We have been in contact during the entire time that project on West Esplanade has been going on, not just with each other, but with Rick Hathaway from the DOTD. And I have to thank him because I called again, as you know. You called him, I called him, I had my assistant call him as well because she happens to know him as well. And we got commitments from him, again, that unless something unforeseeable happens and the weather really turns horrendous, that by by November 25th, I want to make that clear, November 25th, that project on West Esplanade will be done. And the reason that's so important is because of Black Friday, as we mentioned so many times, which is November 29th. It is imperative for the mall to be functional because we need that revenue for the city of Kenner to provide the services that we need to provide for the people of our city. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank him and even the contractor because we have worked together to, when problems arose and people called, we tried to address them if there was any way humanly possible. Many times we got thanks from the people that had been negatively impacted. We made sure there were extra people working from Barrier. We had longer hours. They worked weekend. We had better quality cement that set in 48 hours as opposed to 7 days. We did everything possible to move it from what might have been January all the way to November 25th. So everyone involved, I thank them. It's been uncomfortable. I ride that area more often probably than anyone because of where I live. But again, despite the inconvenience, that it has been a project that we've worked together to minimize the negative impact as much as possible. But one thing I want to put on the record that I've been asked over and over again is the fact that the date chosen for doing this work. Did we have a choice in when to move forward with the project, or were we basically told this is when it needs to be done?
Well, the thing with this, we got a number of projects that were programmed under the Path to Progress
Right.
program, quite a number of them.
Exactly.
And this is something that was dictated by the DOTD as far as bid dates. And the projects were bid in bundles. Yes, we would have liked for this particular
Absolutely.
project to have gone to construction during the summer months. And that was the game plan originally, okay? But the way the projects were bid and the way the projects were delayed as far as accepting the low bid and the DOTD entering into a contract with the contractors, because you got to remember, the city, even though the city has a cooperative endeavor agreement with the state for this Path to Progress program, those projects are all under the jurisdiction of the state DOTD with their program manager, which is HNTV. So yes, we would have liked for this project to have taken place during the summer. It didn't work out. The schedule just plain didn't work out, and the project got delayed, and as a result of that, we ending this project early next week.
And I just wanted to put that on the record because I told everyone that if it had been up to you and I, it would have been done when school was not in session to minimize the impact, the impact as much as possible on the neighborhoods. But again, it wasn't our choice, and we weren't able to change that date. So I wanted to make people know, because that question got asked over and over again, why in the world would you pick this time of year? And the answer is we didn't pick it. We wish that had not been the case, but unfortunately, it wasn't up to us. So I just want to put that on the record for people. Council President, is it okay if I mention a couple things at the Esplanade Mall that I think would be very positive for people? First of all, I want to mention some of the events happening because I think everyone knows about Black Friday on November 29th. But they have Breakfast with Santa on Saturday, December 7th from 8:30 to 10:30 in Center Court. But this one I'm especially happy to announce, and it's called Caring Santa. And Caring Santa will be on Sunday, December the 8th, from 8 to 9:30. It's Santa photo set that they have set up, and it's an invitation that's reserved exclusively for families with special needs children. And the reason they've set it up this way, because the mall isn't open normally on Sunday at that time, it's because special needs children often have to have photos with Santa in a calm environment. Many of those children can't deal with a lot of chaos. And so this gives parents an opportunity with special needs children to come and have the pictures of their children taken with Santa Claus in an environment that is more conducive for them. So I wanted to mention that especially. They have a beauty pageant on Sunday, December the 8th in the Macy Center Court. It's Sunburst will host their annual beauty pageant for boys age infant to 3 and girls age infant to 27. Another one that a lot of people in this area wanted to know about was pet photos with Santa. If you are into pets, Monday, December the 9th and 16th from 9 to 10, thank you very much, Councilman. Santa photo set. You can bring your pets and have a key-set photo taken. Hispanic holiday celebration, Saturday, December the 14th, 3 to 6 at Macy Center Court. And Tunes for Tots, in keeping with the tradition, they will host performances throughout the holiday season, starting on Black Friday, performances every Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 4, and the proceeds will benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And finally, I want to announce that the Simon Youth Foundation, in partnership with the Esplanade 2014 Community Scholarship Awards, are now available. The one-time awards are for up to $1,500 to one high school senior who lives within 15 minutes of the Esplanade Mall, and the student plans to attend an accredited university, 2- or 4-year college, technical or vocational school. We will provide more of this information on our website if possible. Is that possible, Ms. Newton? And we will also do it on our own site for District 4. But I just wanted to quickly mention that, as well as the KPD Annual Doll and Toy Fund giveaway. The chief left, or I would have had him do it. That's coming up as well. So again, that will be, if you want to re-register your underprivileged children living in Kenner, you can contact the Kenner Police Department at 712-2294, 712-2395, beginning on Monday, November 11th through December the 13th. So again, there are a lot of positive things happening in Kenner, and we want everyone in the community to know about it and be part of it. Thank you.
Mayor Yenny?
As quickly as I could.
Couple things. Today is the first day our fishing pier is officially open, and we're going to have a ceremony to rededicate it on Tuesday, December the 3rd at 10 a.m. It took us a long time because we were dealing with FEMA and engineers and contractors trying to get it back open, and they wanted to mitigate it so that hopefully what happened to it the first time will not happen another time. But the good news was it's the first time we haven't actually had to replace the existing pier itself, just the runs leading up to the pier. Also, on Tuesday, December the 3rd, from 6 to 9 at Chateau Country Club, we'll be Sipping with Santa, which is all proceeds go to the Kenner Food Bank to help the food bank. And of course, with the way things are happening with the federal government, where they've cut back on food stamp cards, that's going to certainly, be very taxing on the food bank. So we want to make sure we can, well funded for the holiday season and through the end of next year. We're able to do that through the generosity of my grandfather-in-law, who owns Chateau Country Club, so that he basically gives the club, gives the food, so that all the proceeds and the drinks go to the food bank. They're also going to have some shopping vendors that are there. It's always a well-attended event, and they have a lot of shopping. Madam President, do I have a time limit?
10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't have longer than that. I can't filibuster?
No.
Because I was going to read Robert's Rules of Order because my CAO is itching to get out of here, and I just figured I could waste a little more time. He's got another book I can read after I finish this one. I've never heard somebody say "come on" so much in all my life. So.
Is there something going on that we need to know about?
I guess a Saints game. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Mayor, I can take up your slack on that. I have another 10 minutes if... No, I wanted to follow up on two issues very quickly. One, we spoke about Westminster Tower and some of the issues that they were having over there, and we had a meeting with the regional vice president, with the management, and concerns with the furniture in Tower 1, furniture and chairs in Tower 2, some issues with the cafeteria along with their coupon system, and just complaints not being followed through with or not acted upon. Starting today, they have had a mediator go in to discuss how they can best handle these complaints. I don't know to what end that will occur, whether that will satisfy what needs to happen. There needs to be a good process in place without mediation having to come in so that, one, the citizens' voices can be heard, and two, that they're acted upon, and that's a system that should be put into place by the management. I may still, and I talked to Councilman Reno on this earlier today, bring legislation to this body that would set minimal standards for independent living facilities, requiring areas of congregation, Kenner to inspect their generators and elevators. Mr. Quigley and I dealt with some of that during the last hurricane and did not find the management to be awfully conducive. So while I feel like it's going in the right direction, I'll know more next week. And if things are not going in the right direction, I'd like this body to act to protect those seniors. We had our, and I'm sure Councilman Carroll will talk about the Thanksgiving dinner, but my colleagues who were there talked to those residents from Westminster, and you know, they want something good to happen, but they've been disgusted to this point. Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Newton, we talked about the signs at the school, and one question I had, you answered. The construction for the street panels on Roosevelt would be finished in December, correct? Sometime in December?
I believe, though, I can get an updated schedule from HNTV tomorrow, and I'll forward to you via email.
You don't have to. The only thing is, I mean, the residents have been asking, but to coordinate what you guys are going to do with the signage should be put up right when that construction is finished, because it will lead to some bad circumstances if we do it too early, because we only have one lane on Roosevelt right now.
Right.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam President. Well, let me wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and blessings to all. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Carroll?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple of things here, well, 4 things to be exact. First, Mr. Gonzalez, I'd like to also ask you the status of the 31st Street Path to Progress construction that's going on, if you would, please, sir.
I believe all the 9 concrete bus paths are in place. I haven't been there lately. Okay, I was there maybe about a week or week and a half ago, but I believe they're all in place right now. And the contractor has begun the coal mill operation. That project is supposed to be completed by, I think it's December 12th.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm sure the community will look forward for that, and it'll be a nice, smooth surface. Also for the buses with the new pads that we put in will be, all around good for the transportation and for the community and for everyone that travel on 31st Street. Thank you, sir. The second one, I'd like to thank the Recreation Department. On Tuesday, yes, it was Tuesday, myself, Councilwoman DeFranchis, the mayor, Mr. Maricoli, and all of the staff of the Recreation participated in the competition for the City of Kenner cheerleaders. It was a fantastic event, well attended by parents, grandparents, uncles, all relatives, and it was a time to give the young ladies, and there were some young men too, but specifically the young ladies of the Recreation Department, like all sports, who sometimes gets, are considered second as opposed to first, if they should be, because, they participated, a lot of practice, all the coaches, all the time that they put in. So it was a good event for the young ladies to really shine. I also would like to give special thanks to Ms. Diane Long, who's been involved in the Recreation Department for a long time, but who takes this particular event with the cheerleaders to heart, care about all the young ladies. She even supports the playground when they need additional support for this competition. That's an all-star group. So, Ms. Diane Long, thank you very much for all your support and all you do, not only for the Recreation Department, but specifically for the young ladies of the Kenner Recreation Department, cheerleaders. Number 3, like Councilman Stagney stated, that on Friday, tomorrow, the 22nd, the City of Kenner will be sponsoring, I guess it's been going on for like 20 years, the Thanksgiving dinner at Buddy Lawson Playground from 11 o'clock to 2. Buddy Lawson Gym, actually, from 11 o'clock to 2 for the seniors. It's a small token of appreciation. We could never give them what they've given to us, but it'll be a good night, good evening for everyone to come out, get a good meal, There will be door prizes, also community development. Mr. Rell has always supports with this. Thank her for her help. They're going to be music, they're going to be dancing, and a good day for all to come out. So for the seniors in the city of Kenner, if you can make it, please come out again Friday, Buddy Lawson Playground from 11 o'clock to 2 inside the Buddy Lawson Gym. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Captain Glenn Synagogue. He's a personal friend of mine. He and I grew up in the same area in South Kenner, went to Bonneville together, who retired from the Kenner Police Department after over 30-plus years. So I think we need to give him a round of applause. Glenn isn't here right now, but you know he's been a friend and a good for the community, and I'm sure what he goes on after this, he will be as successful as he has with the Kenner Police Department, protecting all the lives in the city of Kenner. I believe that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
That was 4 things.
That was 4? Oh, you know, that's...
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll be brief, because there is a Saints game that starts about 7 o'clock, right?
7:30.
7:30? Okay, that's why I asked. I wasn't sure. Mayor, you stole my thunder on that, because I wanted to tell you, talk about the Sipping with Santa. What a great event that is. I have been for the last 3 years, I think when you've had it, and this year, well, I will also have tickets for that and with some of my friends. They're $30 a piece, but believe me, it's great food, great entertainment. There's a silent auction. There's a great boutique for Christmas gifts, and it all goes to a very worthy cause, and that is to our food bank, which we know in the past years, I think this activity has brought up about $90,000 into that we've been able to furnish with for the food bank. So I really think that everybody ought to try and go to that. And that's December the 3rd at Chateau Country Club from 6 to 9. Very nice event. And you get to mingle with some of the elected officials. Not that that's a great deal, but you know, you never know. We won't be signing autographs, but we'd love to see everybody out there, and it's a good time for all. And the second thing is, the most important thing for Mr. Francis that she did not mention, and I was very surprised, because all the questions about the theater at the Esplanade Mall is finally coming to fruition. We cut the ribbon on December the 13th. So we want to make sure that everybody knows about that, and that the roadways will be complete and there won't be any more traffic, hopefully. And because I know that it's been a long-waited thing for those roads to be complete. But the mall and the theater is going to be beautiful, and we're finally happy to cut the ribbon on December 13th. That's it. Thank you.
Good, and I just want to make a correction. Councilmember Carroll forgot to mention that Councilmember Reyno was at the cheer competition as well. He was going to legislate. Yeah, and anybody who's on Facebook would have known that anyway, because somebody performed there, if I remember correctly. Audrey, I know. Okay, Ms. Newton.
I'll try to be quick. I just wanted to make one of our final pushes to notify the public of road closures in the city pertaining to Race to the Lake, affecting Districts 3 and 4. Just to go over those, it'll be between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. this Saturday, November the 23rd. Northbound Power Boulevard between West Esplanade and Vintage. Westbound Vintage between Power Boulevard and Monte Carlo. Eastbound Vintage between Chateau Magdalene and Chateau Boulevard. Northbound Chateau Boulevard between Vintage and Chateau Country Club. Southbound Chateau Boulevard between Chateau Latour Drive and Joe Yenny Boulevard. Westbound Joe Yenny Boulevard between Chateau Boulevard and Williams Boulevard. And finally, southbound Williams Boulevard between Joe Yenny Boulevard and Laketown. Any residents who live along the route should have received a flyer taped to their door announcing these closures, and we worked very hard with the Kenner Police Department to minimize any inconvenience to the residents and ensure alternate routes were available. However, I just want to let the public know I am available to field any questions. I can be reached at the mayor's office, 468-7240. The council office has also been available to answer questions. as well as Kenner Police Non-Emergency Dispatch. We'll be happy to help anyone who's having any problems with transportation, only during 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on Saturday.
Awesome.
Thank you.
What a great event. Point of clarification, yeah.
Ms. Nguyen, if you would just explain what you and I spoke about earlier, because I think there's a lot of confusion about Chateau East and coming out from Monte Carlo. Would you explain to them what's going on?
Yeah, Monte Carlo is a section near the intersection of Chateau and Vintage. It's a little inlet neighborhood with one way in and one way out. Lake Breeze is also another similar situation. There's some condo complexes with one way in, one way out. Police are working with us to accommodate those residents, but for the residents on Monte Carlo, your exit will be open and available where you may turn right on Vintage, right on Chateau, right on Joe Yenny, and proceed across Williams through those neighborhoods to be able to exit out past Erlanger. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Janopoulos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just once again, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe. I know we have a lot of road work out there, a lot of construction, some things that can be distracting, and, please be safe and have a great time with your family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to make it quick. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. God bless y'all.
Okay. All right, Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilmember DeFranchis, is discussion on professional service contracts regarding design-related services.
Councilmember DeFranchis, would you put your thing on so I can, there you go. Okay.
Thank you, Council President. Just to save time again, I would love to wish all of you a very, very wonderful Thanksgiving and hope you can share it with all of your families. I know it's for, Council President mentioned something earlier, for some of us who have lost loved ones this year, it's a very difficult time. So you all will be in my prayers, and we wish you an absolutely wonderful, wonderful holiday season as well. And a Merry Christmas early. I already received a Christmas card, if you can believe that. So I guess it's starting earlier and earlier every year.
Okay, we're on a
I
discussion
know, but
on
I just
professional-
wanted to, again, we're going, I didn't want to push a button a second time before, that's why.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you just for a couple of minutes to clear up something that occurred at the last meeting. There were some statements made at the last council meeting that I think resulted in some confusion regarding design professional service contracts. And I didn't want to discuss it then because I wanted to have the actual legislation with me in order to make it, in order to be able to reference it. And I talked to our city attorney's office as well in case anyone had any additional questions. And there are two acts that are actually involved with that, and that's the Hammett Act, RS 38.2318.1. And the other one, which is a federal act, is the Brooks Act, which is the federal government's, regards the federal government's selection of architects and engineers. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is, again, because there was some confusion as to whether or not these contracts should go out to bid. And the answer is, according to the Hammett Act, and I'm just going to read a very short portion of it that I think is very important. New law states that if the policy of the state and the agencies and political subdivision to select providers of design professional services on the basis of competency and qualifications for a fair and reasonable price, it further prohibits the state and any of its agencies or political subdivisions from selecting providers of design professional services where price or price-related information is a factor in the selection. If one of our city attorneys that we have here would like to discuss it with me, is to save time, I'm not going to go through the Brooks Act, which is a federal act.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sure Mr. Quigley wouldn't mind.
Are you sure, Council President, that I won't have things thrown at me? But the Brooks Act basically says the same thing on the federal level. So rather than, read it again to you, a very, very similar provision, I thought that just basically discussing it and talking about the fact that you are not allowed to put certain professional service contracts out to bid, and for various reasons. Because again, it impacts the safety and of the municipality, and it could result in tremendous damage if the qualifications of that firm that was going to be selected were substandard. And so, price is a secondary consideration. Price is negotiated after the firm is selected. Would our city attorney like to comment on some of these things that we had discussed, you and I?
I'm going to allow Mr. Richard because he handles all the contracts for the city.
Mr. Richard?
Thank you, Councilmember. As we discussed earlier, as a political subdivision of the state, we're required to observe certain formalities of state law with respect to the award of certain public contracts. It's pretty well settled that professional service contracts do not fall under the public bid law, and in 2006, the legislature took it a step further and enacted the Louisiana No Bidding of Design Professional Services Policy, which reads exactly as you just quoted. So it's pretty clear that the legislature has determined that competence and qualifications should be the primary considerations in determining who the providers of these professional services will be, and to make that the primary focus and not get sidetracked with anything else, they actually removed price and price-related factors from considerations.
Absolutely. And I did a little research as to Mr. Gonzalez. Digital engineering oversees our sewer lift station projects. Is that not correct?
Digital engineering was the program manager for
right,
the
that's
sewer
the
program on the first batch of projects.
Right.
The current program manager is GEC.
We did not, this council at that point, no matter whether it was District 4, District 3, or District 2, or District 1, or District 5, it doesn't matter. We did not choose that. That was something that when we first moved forward with doing our lift stations, that was chosen as the project manager. Am I not correct?
Well, being that I inherited the sewer program, roughly 1 year ago, that predates me. How Digital was selected to be the program manager, it just predates me.
Well, my understanding is, I looked into it, that when we were working on the DEQ loan, the DHH wastewater loan, that Digital was involved with the city. I did a little research myself to see what was done and when it was done, to make sure that we move forward with the DEQ, because at that time, I think everybody remembers, we had tremendous problems with the state. We were going to be held liable for a tremendous amount of money to the state because we were not in compliance with many of the regulations. And so at that time, the previous director in your place and with the previous administration had begun the work of working with the state to make sure we would become in compliance and that we were able to get the loans that would enable us to do so. I did a little research to see how far back actually Digital was involved with the city, and it goes back to actually 91 and then 93. And they have had the expertise for a long time to be a project manager. I wanted to make sure that we had done what we were supposed to do, and that is to make sure that we were following the law, because the state policy indicates again that we cannot put these things out to bid. And you mentioned at the last council meeting, since you've been there, what the procedure has been. Am I not? Did you not at the last meeting, and you talked about the committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to just give a shortened version of what you said about the committee at the last meeting?
Okay, when we advertise for consulting firms, we normally do an SOQ. An SOQ stands for Statements of Qualifications.
Right.
Okay, under Statements of Qualifications for design services, we do not include price as a category for the selection process. Consultants were selected based on that SOQ. The ones on the first batch and the ones on the second batch were all under the same SOQ for sewer-related work associated with lift stations, force mains, and the sewer treatment plant. Harman and Digital, they both qualified firms that have done a substantial amount of work in the sewer system throughout Kenner for quite a number of years. So personally, I have no reservations whatsoever, having Digital and Harman doing the work that they were selected for. But that's normally how we advertise for consulting services, through an SOQ process.
And I talked to quite a few people, and one of the things I found out, which I thought was important, was, of course, we do have standards, and we do have guidelines as to how much these companies could charge, and to make sure that they don't go beyond what would be the normally accepted, charges that the city would have to expend. And my understanding from talking to people is that you're very meticulous and that you're very, very rigid about making sure that any company that's involved with the city falls within those guidelines. And I've heard that over and over again, that if anyone that was involved with the city of Kenner in any of these projects even thought of asking more than would be typically responsible for work in the city, that you immediately made sure that company knew that it was not going to be able to negotiate that kind of contract. And I wanted to put that on the record because that's everyone with whom I've spoken.
Well-
that you would hold their feet to the fire and make sure that the bids were responsible.
Once a consultant is selected, in this particular case, it's under the sewer program, okay, where we're dealing with DEQ funds and we're dealing with bond forms. But regardless of whether it's federal money or not, it's the same process. Once a consultant is selected, now that we have a program manager in place, the program manager has assisted me in negotiating a fee with every one of those consultants that have been selected under my term as a sewer and public works director in general. Okay, we do negotiate price. Sometimes it's based on an American Society of Civil Engineers curve, which is based on an approved construction cost. Sometimes it's based on a man-hour proposal. I don't particularly care for man-hour proposals. Normally follow the ASCE construction curves. Now, in the event that we cannot come to terms with a consultant, and very seldom does that happen, I can assure you that I'm not shy to tell the mayor that we have reached the end of the line, and it would be in our best interest to go ahead and select someone else other than that firm, because we have not been able to negotiate an honest fee, a fair fee.
And
that hasn't happened yet.
And that's exactly, by the way, what the Brooks Act addresses, that if you cannot, then you have to go to the second most qualified and the third. And it actually goes through that whole process. So it's very well defined as the procedures we're supposed to follow, according to both the Brooks Act as well as the Hammond Act. And I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, although we cannot put these contracts out to bid that involve architectural and engineering design, we have, however, put out to bid other contracts that we are able to negotiate through the bidding process because they don't involve design, because they don't involve architectural or engineering design. Can you mention some of the contracts that we are now working on or have put out to bid?
Our grass cutting contract, which has turned out to give us a better price and a better quality of cut along the medians. We've done our plumbing contract. We've done our air conditioning maintenance contract. And most recently, our janitorial services contract. So all of those have been out for bid. We're getting better prices, and it's how the city should have operated years ago. And this administration's made sure we've done that.
So when we can, we do put things out to bid, but we also have to follow the law. And there are times when putting something out to bid is not in the best interest of our constituents, and we need to follow the law and make sure that the people of Kenner are well protected. And that's why I wanted to put this on the record, that it's important that we follow the law, if it's something that's open, that we can bid on, let's bid on it. Let's get the best price. But if something that has to do with safety issues where we have to make sure that competency is our primary goal, then we have to follow the law, as I stated. Thank you so much for your time.
Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Item 18B, at the request of Councilmember Stagney, a discussion regarding home service and home serve.
Councilmember Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I received a call earlier in the week. The Kenner Police Department put out a news release saying that the Kenner Police Department, the City of Kenner, and the Better Business Bureau of Southwest Louisiana are receiving calls regarding mailing of local consumers from Home Serve USA. And basically, they send you something that looks like an official government document, although other entities have forced them at some point to put on there that it's not a government document, but it looks very official. It has a request that you have to call back by a certain time frame, and it's regarding your sewer, septic lines, and water lines. when this person was talking to me, it reminded me of a complaint that I received in 2010, where I wrote the city attorney, and it was by a company that was home service. This one was home serve, that was home service. When my assistant pulled the documents, oddly enough, it was the same phone number. These are being mailed to unsuspecting residents to make it seem like their pipes have been evaluated and they have a problem. They may not have coverage. When we looked at it in 2010, we contacted the homeowner who had called me, had her look up her homeowner's insurance, and sure enough, she had coverage already, so it would have been a redundant coverage. And they do that time and time again. It appears to be the same company. I think it's questionable business practices, suspicious. I applaud the Kenner Police Department for putting this out. I know the administration at some point put out a beware alert, and they are typically sending this to older neighborhoods where they know that they will have some problems. But everybody that we've contacted, their homeowner's insurance covered the sewage lines between, let's say, the sidewalk and their house. So it's important. I'm going to read what the Kenner Police says to do and what I've told the residents who've contacted me. Never agree to any contract over the phone without first reading it. Read the service contract very carefully and make sure you have an understanding of it, especially the exclusions that are mentioned. Review your homeowner's policy to see if your coverage is already provided. Contact the Better Business Bureau to make sure it's a reputable company, and make sure that the company has a reasonable cancellation policy. I don't know, they must make money, but it is the same company under a different name with the same phone number and what appears to be the same officers. So I'm asking our residents, along with the administration, the Better Business Bureau, and the Kenner Police Department, to please be on the lookout. You probably already have coverage for what they're selling you. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stagnon. Council Clerk?
Item 19 is unfinished business or motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
We have a couple. Heather Calder? Heather is not here. Patricia Davis? Is she still here, or is she left? I wanted to ask Councilmember Black, just while we're waiting to see if she's still here. She had mentioned something earlier that I had failed to mention about Mr. Billy Munwa. So did you want to? Your light's on. I mean, your mic's on.
Thank you. I just mentioned that Billy had been an interim.
I mean, Dunwa. I said Munwa. I'm sorry.
Billy Dunwa.
It just came to me.
D'-A-U-N-O-Y, something like that, in French. But anyway, Billy was an interim councilman for some time for District 5, and he was a wonderful guy. We really liked him, and meant a few words, but he got his messages across, so he will be greatly missed. He was a wonderful father and a good husband, so we just wanted to be sure and remember him at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Black. Okay, Ms. Davis?
Patricia Davis, 3126 Ohio Street. I ran to catch Mr. Maricoli, so I got that issue resolved. Greg, my next question is for you in reference to the property 31st and Helena. Have you made any headway with that?
Let me get,
Tot lot,
there you go, your mic's on.
the tot lot.
It's on. Your mic's on.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. As far as headway, I think we've had the discussion about who owned the property.
Exactly.
And my answer again is that the city of Kenner does not own the property. It is owned by the Housing Authority. So if there are anything to address, the code department will address it through citations to the Housing Authority, because the city of Kenner does not own the property.
Okay, we have a problem here. The city of Kenner say they don't own it. I mean, housing say they do not own that particular property. That property is They're to maintain it, but the city of Kenner actually owns it. So we need to get to the point as to who owns that particular property.
And I believe I mailed you a copy of the,
Yes, you
from
did.
Mr. Capella's office that stated who owned the property.
And I've went to housing, and they stated that they do not own it. So you all need to get to the,
But it did say from Mr. Capella that it is owned by the Housing Authority.
okay, then I left that up to you to find out exactly who owns that property so that we can address the issues and concerns that we're having there.
Ms. Davis,
Oh,
as far as determining who owns, I have to go by what the assessor says, who owns the property.
Okay, well,
Unless
this-
the attorney has something more to add to it, who am I to question, him saying, this is the entity that owns the property? So what should
Okay,
I
so-
do? Tell him you're wrong?
Okay, so we're saying housing owns it? So we need to get these concerns that we're having with that particular top lot resolved.
No, we're
So
not-
we'll go back to housing.
We're not saying it. Mr. Capella, who's the Jefferson Parish assessor, is saying that it is owned by the Kenner Housing Authority.
Okay, we'll get it resolved between you and I. Okay,
Oh, okay.
yeah. You know what we're concerned about.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
The concern doesn't go away, but from a legal standpoint, we have our position. Until Mr. Capella changes his position, this is where we're going to be on this as far as ownership.
And as far as the 31st Street project, those pads were put in last week. That project seems to be going very smoothly. Barry is doing a terrific job through there with that. And the code enforcement, Mr. Connolly, yes, I've been calling your office with a complaint since September the 16th. And as of now, I have not had that issue resolved. There's some grass cutting that needs to be done on 31st and Tupelo. I've spoken with Marie, I've spoken with Lorraine, I've left a message with Missy, and still as of today.
I've ordered a city cut for that, and we're going to hold the owner responsible. We're filing suit in First Parish Court to keep their feet to the fire.
Okay,
It's
thank,
it's not cut yet?
no, sir.
I apologize. I'll check on that tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Wait a second. There you go, Ms. Black.
Regardless of who the owner is, of whom the owner is, if you don't want to discuss the problems that you're having, is there something that the city could do for, if the Housing Authority does own it? Is there something that we as a council could do, or through the city, to help you with that?
Shut it down.
Shut it down?
That's
Oh,
correct.
well, there,
I
okay.
think Councilmember Carroll.
I think, I'm going to defer to Councilman Carroll.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a tot lot, but.
Authority to tell them to shut it down.
Well, it's not your property, so it's housing's property.
Right, that's
So
right.
you'll speak with housing in
So
reference
I
to.
confer to the district councilman, but I
Yeah,
did want to
because
find out.
it's a nuisance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conley, did you wish to speak? Your light's on.
Yeah, I tried to turn it off, but it made it worse.
Okay. Would you like to speak?
Yeah.
And your name and address.
Thank you, Council President Walt Benetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue. I thought there would be some more discussion regarding item number 18 with Councilwoman DeFrancis, so I just wanted to make clear, be clear about her position. Because in May of 2012, the Bureau of Governmental Research wrote a report regarding professional services contracts in Jefferson Parish. And the report suggested several recommendations, one of which was that evaluation committees should factor in proposed cost when ranking contractors. It said in the case of professional services, which include architectural, surveying, and engineering work, BGR criticized the council's ability to select contractors from any list of firms qualified for routine work, as opposed to being limited to the best firm that can do the work for the lowest price. It said, price is not necessarily the most important factor for selecting services that depend on technical or specialized skills, but the inclusion of non-price considerations results in a more subjective process and the potential for favoritism, waste, and abuse. Parish President John Young in a NOLA.com Times-Picayune article said, though price shouldn't be the sole determining factor, it should be a factor to be considered. It will force, in my opinion, vendors to include price as a consideration in their proposals. President Young went on to say that he actually instructed the parish attorney to include an ordinance and change that for their evaluation committees. Quote, I think that what we all want to strive for is getting the best service for the best price, Young said. Including price with all other considerations is a way to reach that goal. I just wanted to be clear, does Councilwoman DeFrancis disagree with the Bureau of Governmental Research or anyone on the council that price should be included in the evaluation process? Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Black? No? Okay, Councilmember DeFrancis. Wait, there you go.
Thank you, Council President. I will be happy to give you a copy of the Hammond Act, which went into effect July 1st of 2006. I have an extra copy, which I brought.
I have one.
And let me just again read to you, I am not the person that is supposed to make that decision. I'm supposed to follow the law. That's what a legislative body does. It doesn't circumvent the law, it follows the law. And the law states, it further prohibits the state and any of the agencies or political subdivisions from selecting providers of design professional services where price or price-related information is a factor in the selection. That's what the law says, and I will be happy to share it with you. It is not my position to make up new laws unless we pass something as an ordinance from this council that is in compliance with both state and federal regulations. So until that time happens, then I'm going to follow the law and support those who follow the law. But I'll be happy, Mr. Benetti, would you like me to pass you a copy?
I have a copy, thank you.
Okay, good, then you know where I'm coming from on the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it also, it says qualifications for a fair and reasonable price. How can you determine?
Absolutely.
How can you determine a fair and reasonable price if price is not a consideration?
Because what it says, if you read the whole thing, did you read the Brooks Act as well?
No.
Okay, well then you need to do that. That's a federal statute. So let me explain how that works. In the Brooks Act, it actually goes in that if you cannot come to an agreement that is fair with the company that is selected that meets all the criteria, then you go to the second one that is viable, and you negotiate with that company. Again, if you cannot come to a reasonable price with that company, then you go to the third one. But again, price is after you start negotiating, you pick a firm, not before. It's after you choose one of those firms. You can pick up to 3 that are reasonable, and you start with the one that has the best criteria, and you negotiate with that one. And if the price is too exorbitant, as you put it out, I totally agree with you. We don't go forward with that company. And if you can't come to a consensus in your committee because of the price that company's asking, then according to the Brooks Act, you go to number 2. I can read it to you, give you a copy, and then you can go to number 3. And that's what Jefferson Parish can do as well, and that's what John Young is talking about, that if you can't come after you pick that firm with the first company, go to second and third and so on.
So their inclusion of price in the evaluation process?
No, after you pick, not before. That's very clear in the Brooks Act. I'll be happy to share it with you.
I'll get that clarified with the parish president tomorrow.
Fine,
Thank you.
no problem.
I just wanted to be sure, that's all.
I will give you a copy if you like.
No.
I have an extra copy.
I'll look it up
be happy
online.
to share it with you
Thanks.
afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Quigley? Has the game started yet?
Go Saints.
It's so funny. I leave my phone out here just in case my kids need me. My son called and I text him counsel, and he texts me back, Ma, it's a Saints game. So he concurs. And it doesn't feel right adjourning the meeting without Mr. Morella, but according to Mr. Reno, he gave him a ticket to the game. That's a joke. So, meeting adjourned.